When you grow up on land that's been in your family for over a century, you don't think of yourself as an owner. You think of yourself as a steward. I was the fifth generation to run our ranch, a patch of golden prairie and sun-baked trails carved out by my great-great-grandfather's hands. The kind of place where every creek bend, every oak tree, felt like a memory you could touch. Life here wasn't fancy, but was ours, simple, stubborn, and honest. So when the new HOA president, a woman everyone had already started calling Karen behind closed doors, rolled into town with her manicured nails and clipboard, nobody thought much of it. We figured she'd be too busy worrying about lawn heights and mailbox colors to bother the rest of us. We were wrong. Dead wrong. It started with her wandering up the drive uninvited, snapping pictures with her phone, like she was shopping. Then came the first letter, a polite request to discuss a transfer of property, followed by a not-so-polite demand stapled to my gate. Karen wasn't asking if I wanted to sell. She was informing me that she had already bought the ranch. Said she found some loophole and that it was just a matter of paperwork now. I laughed the first time she said it. Thought it was some bizarre misunderstanding. But what I didn't know was that Karen wasn't planning on taking no for an answer. Stick around, because this story gets crazier than you believe. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Because something tells me, no matter where you are, you'll be just as fired up as I was when you hear what she tried next. The next morning, I found her standing by the old windmill on my property, pacing like she owned the place. She waved when she saw me, like we were old friends. I didn't wave back. Instead, I marched right up to her, boots crunching on the gravel, heart already pounding in my ears. "You're trespassing," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Karen just smiled, that slow, syrupy kind of smile you say for someone you think you're smarter than. "Oh, don't be dramatic," she chirped. "It's practically mine already. I'm just getting a feel for the layout." I blinked, stunned. Was she serious? "Lady," I said, "you can't just decide you own something because you want it." But Karen wasn't listening. She pulled out a manila envelope from her tote bag, real casual, and shoved it into my chest. Inside, a stack of printed emails, some half-filled forms, and a fake purchase agreement, with my ranch listed for a grand total of $1. $1. "You're going to want to sign that," she said, her voice low, almost smug. "If you fight it, it'll just get messy. The HOA's on my side. You'll be out of here by Christmas." I didn't know whether to laugh or start swinging. My fists balled up at my sides, nails digging into my palms. Every instinct told me this woman was playing a dangerous game, and she thought I was too dumb, too old-fashioned, too soft to stop her. But Karen didn't know me. She didn't know this land wasn't just dirt and fence posts. It was blood. It was legacy. And if she wanted to fight, well, she just declared war on the wrong rancher. By the end of that week, Karen had cranked it up to 11. She wasn't just trespassing anymore. She was bringing people with her. Realtors and polished loafers. Contractors with measuring tapes. Even a landscaping crew that started staking little orange flags in my hayfield, like they were planning a grand redesign. I chased off every last one of them. Sometimes with a few choice words. Sometimes with the barrel of my old Winchester resting casually against my shoulder. Always legal, but always clear. This was not up for debate. And yet, somehow, every time I turned around, there Karen was, strutting up the driveway like a queen inspecting her castle. "You're only making this harder on yourself," she called out once, not even bothering to hide the sneer in her voice. "Just sign the papers. Walk away with your dignity." My dignity? I wanted to scream. Instead, I gritted my teeth so hard my jaw ached. She didn't understand. She couldn't. To Karen, this was just a chess move, a power play in a game where she always won. But for me, it was sacred ground. It was a lifetime of birthday parties under the cottonwoods, of long summers hauling water in a rusted pickup, of winters huddled by the wood stove while the snow piled up to the windowsills. It wasn't just mine, it was ours. It belonged to every hand that had bled for it before me. I started keeping my phone in my pocket at all times, recording every word, every threat, every smug little smirk she threw my way. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't going to end with a neighborly handshake. Karen was building a case, and whether I liked it or not, I was going to have to build one, too. It was a Sunday, early enough that the dew was still clinging to the grass. When I caught her trying to change the locks on my front gate, I was fixing the tractor out back when I heard the rattling, and something in my gut just knew. I wiped the grease off my hands and jogged around the barn, and there she was, standing on a step stool, fiddling with a new padlock like she had all the time in the world. No shame, no hurry, like she was entitled to be there. For a second, I just stared, my heart thudding, my fist tightening. Then my voice cut through the morning air, sharp enough to make her flinch. "Step away from that gate, Karen." She turned, slow and deliberate, the keys dangling from her fingers. "You're making this harder than it needs to be," she said, her tone pure pity, like I was the unreasonable one here. "This property's under new management now. It's better for everyone if we start transitioning early." I almost laughed. "Almost. The only thing under new management," I said, walking closer, "is your brain if you think you're getting away with this." Karen's smile faltered just a crack, but she covered it fast. "I've already filed paperwork with the county," she said, waving a thick sheaf of documents. "You'll be hearing from them soon. And when you do, you'll wish you had cooperated." I took another step, slow and steady, like approaching a wild animal. "You can file whatever you want," I said. "You're still trespassing, and you're still wrong." She dropped the lock with a loud clatter and stalked past me, muttering about how I was about to lose everything. But as I watched her drive off in her shiny black SUV, tires spitting gravel, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever Karen thought she had started, she had no idea how far I was willing to go to end it. It didn't take long for the county letter to show up, crumpled in my mailbox like some cheap, backhanded threat. I ripped it open right there by the fence line, hands trembling, half from anger, half from something colder, something heavier. Inside was a notice of dispute. Karen had filed a claim asserting that the ranch had been abandoned for commercial reassignment. Some old legal loophole buried in a dusty land management code, probably nobody had touched in decades. According to her, my family had forfeited our rights by not actively developing the land into something economically productive. Never mind the cattle. Never mind the hay fields. Never mind the fact that 5 generations of sweat and blood had soaked into this dirt. That didn't fit Karen's definition of progress. So she decided it didn't count. I sat down hard on the edge of the corral, the letter crumpling in my lap. For the first time, a seed of doubt wormed its way into my gut. What if she had found something real? What if all her crazy talk about buying the ranch wasn't just the ramblings of a power-hungry busybody? What if she actually had a case? I called my cousin Hank, a lawyer up in Amarillo, and read him the whole thing, line by line. His voice was tight when he answered. "Don't panic," he said, "but don't ignore it either. She's fishing, but if you don't shut it down fast, she could get hooks in." I felt the blood drain from my face. This wasn't just some HOA Karen throwing tantrums in the driveway anymore. This was a real fight now, with real consequences. I wasn't just protecting my land. I was protecting my family's name. And if Karen thought a couple of dusty old statutes were enough to scare me off, she had another thing coming. I barely had time to catch my breath before the next blow hit. 2 days later, I came home from town to find a for sale sign planted right in the middle of my front pasture, big, shiny, and crooked as a snake. My heart slammed against my ribs, so hard I could barely breathe. At first, I thought maybe it was some stupid prank. But when I got closer, I saw Karen's real estate company logo printed right there on the bottom. She had listed my ranch, without my knowledge, without my consent. I ripped the sign out of the ground, with splintering in my hands, and stormed back to the house, my boots chewing up the dirt. Before I could even slam the front door behind me, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You're making this harder than it needs to be. Accept the inevitable. Call me." I nearly crushed the phone in my fist. Karen wasn't just harassing me now. She was setting a trap, trying to create a paper trail, paint a picture of someone too stubborn or confused to know what was happening. A narrative where she was the reasonable one, trying to help an old rancher move on. And the sick part? I knew that's exactly how it would look to outsiders. No one cared about old bloodlines anymore. No one cared about what it meant to carry a family's land forward generation after generation. They just saw acreage, opportunity, development deals, big money. I stared out the window at the empty pasture, my hands trembling at my sides. For the first time since this whole nightmare started, a knot of fear tightened in my gut. Karen wasn't just fighting for my land anymore. She was fighting for my story, my legacy. And if I didn't act fast, if I didn't start swinging back harder, she was going to bury me with it. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table, the same one my grandfather built by hand, staring at the deeds, the surveys, the tattered family Bible, where every birth and death was written in careful script. I wasn't just fighting for dirt. I was fighting for my bloodline, my bones, every sunrise my family ever worked through, every storm we ever weathered. I wasn't about to let some HOA paper pusher erase all that, not without a fight. So I called Hank back, this time with a plan. We would countersue. Hard. I spent the next 48 hours pulling everything together. Tax records showing we actively worked the land, livestock inventories, historical preservation certificates, even a stack of property tax payments going back decades. Hank had me swear out an affidavit, detailing every inch of maintenance, every head of cattle, every fence post replaced, with dates, receipts, photos. I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to bury her fake claim under a mountain of proof. But that wasn't enough. Hank warned me. She's counting on you to get mad and mess up. Stay smart. Stay calm. So I did one more thing. I hired a surveyor, a real state-certified one, to redraw the property lines and verify there were no errors Karen could exploit. The surveyor, an old-timer named Mr. Fields, shook his head when he finished. "You're clean as a whistle," he said. "This is 120-year-old ranch land. She doesn't have a prayer." It was the first bit of hope I'd felt in weeks. Still, the damage was already done. Karen had planted seeds of doubt in the county office, in the community, even in the real estate market. If I wanted to shut her down completely, I was going to have to do more than just win a lawsuit. I was going to have to expose her for exactly what she was. The final straw came on a Saturday morning. A sheriff's cruiser rolling up my driveway, dust billowing behind it like a storm cloud. My gut twisted before the deputy even stepped out. He was polite, almost apologetic, but the paper he handed me made my blood run cold. Karen had filed for adverse possession. She was trying to legally claim the ranch by arguing that she had taken open and notorious control of the land. Like squatting here for a few weeks gave her a right to it. I laughed. Couldn't help it. A dry, bitter sound that cracked in the morning air. "She really thinks she can pull this off," I muttered. The deputy shrugged. "I've seen crazier," he said, tipping his hat. "But you've got a fight on your hands. I'd get a lawyer if I were you. Already on it." That afternoon, Hank and I filed a counterclaim, and this time we didn't hold back. We included everything. Her trespassing incidents, the fake sale sign, the fraudulent county paperwork, the harassment, the trespassing realtors. We even submitted video evidence. Little clips of Karen ranting at the gate, her tone flipping from syrupy sweet to venomous the second she thought no one was watching. But the real knockout blow? Hank had uncovered that Karen's real estate license had been suspended 3 years ago for misconduct, fraud. She wasn't even legally allowed to broker a sale. It all came together like a perfect storm. When Karen was served with a lawsuit, I watched from the porch as she stood there, mouth hanging open, papers fluttering in her hand like dead leaves. No smug smile this time. No arrogant threats. Just a woman who realized, too late, that she'd picked the wrong ranch and the wrong man to mess with. Word traveled fast, faster than fire across dry prairie grass. By Monday morning, half the county seemed to know the truth. Karen wasn't a realtor, wasn't a legitimate buyer, wasn't anything but a fraud wrapped up in fancy blazers and big lies. The county office sent me an official apology letter, stiff and formal, but I didn't need it. Watching the rumors crumble in real time was satisfaction enough. Karen tried to save face at first, hosting emergency HOA meetings, rallying the few neighbors who didn't yet know the full story. But it was no use. Once people saw the copies of her suspended license, the fake sale contracts, the trespass reports, they started backing away from her like she was radioactive. The Rayall kicker came when the sheriff's department launched a formal investigation into her activities. Turns out, my case wasn't the only one. Karen had a history. Smaller stuff mostly, but enough to paint a clear picture of someone who made a habit out of bullying folks into giving up what she wanted. Facing the heat, Karen tried to skip town, packing up her SUV late one night, headlights off, tailgate slamming shut again and again. But the law moved faster. They caught her less than a mile down the highway, pulled her over, took her in on charges of real estate fraud and trespassing. It wasn't dramatic TV-style arrest, just a quiet end to a loud mess. And as I stood on my porch the next morning, a cup of black coffee in my hand and the sun rising over the pasture, I finally felt it. The kind of peace you don't notice until it's been missing for a long, long time. The ranch was still mine. Always had been. Always would be. Karen was just a bump in the road. And now, that road stretched clear and open all the way to the horizon. I spent that first quiet evening walking the fence lines, boots scuffing the dirt, the old ranch dog trailing behind me, tongue lolling out happily like he could sense it too, the peace settling back into the bones of this place. I paused by the oldest oak tree on the property, the one my great-grandfather had planted when he first staked his claim here, and rested my hand against the rough bark. It had survived fires, floods, storms, and now one more storm had passed. Standing there, I thought about everything we'd lost over the years, and everything we had fought to hold on to. Folks like Karen, they don't understand that. To them, land's just an asset, a blank space to fill, to flip, to profit off of. But to us, land is memory. It's legacy. It's blood that never quite washes off your hands. I pulled out my phone, not to check messages, not to answer emails, but to snap a photo. Just a simple shot of the fence line, the golden field stretching out beyond it, the battered oak standing watch. A reminder, proof that some things are still worth fighting for. As the stars blinked to life overhead, I leaned back against the truck and just listened to the crickets, the soft rustle of grass in the breeze, the deep silence that only comes when you're exactly where you're meant to be. Karen was gone now. Her lies, her threats, her fake contracts, all just dust kicked up by a storm that had finally blown itself out. And me, I was still standing, still rooted, still here, same as it ever was. Same as it would be long after the Karens of the world had come and gone. Home isn't something you sign over. It's something you hold on to, no matter how hard someone tries to take it away.